Have you ever looked around your home? The same kitchen, the same couch, the same routines, and thought, how did I get so stuck? You know something isn't right. Maybe it hasn't been right for years. But the thought of doing something about it feels overwhelming. It's like standing at the edge of a cliff, knowing you need to jump, but not knowing what's on the other side. And at our age, after 60 or even 70, it can feel like life is already written. You may be thinking, what's the point of starting over now? Isn't it too late? Let me tell you right now, it's not too late, not even close. Your peace of mind, your emotional well-being, your sense of self, they still matter. They always will. Whether you've been in an emotionally abusive relationship for 5 years or 50, you deserve freedom. You deserve gentleness. You deserve to live the rest of your life without walking on eggshells or second-guessing your worth. So today, I want to talk to you, not as an expert, but as someone who deeply cares about how to begin this process, how to leave a relationship that's been draining you, confusing you, or slowly pulling the life out of you. We're going to walk through 3 steps that can help you reclaim your power, no matter your age, no matter your situation. Let's start with the first and often hardest step, and that is deciding to leave. Now I know, that might sound like a no-brainer, but here's the truth. Deciding to leave isn't just about packing a bag and walking out the door. It's about emotionally deciding, deep down, past the fear, past the excuses, past the wishful thinking. Because emotional abuse is sneaky. It isn't always shouting or name-calling. Sometimes it's the silence when you need comfort, the way they make you feel guilty just for being upset, the constant quiet message that your needs don't matter, that your feelings are too much, that you're lucky they put up with you. You may have told yourself, they're not that bad. Maybe it's just me. Maybe if I just try harder, things will get better. And when they're suddenly sweet again, when they apologize or make your favorite meal, or tell you you're beautiful, it's tempting to believe the cycle is over, that this time they really see you. But if you're here right now, watching this, something inside you already knows the truth. You've seen the patterns, you've felt the emotional whiplash, and you're tired. Tired of hoping, tired of shrinking yourself, tired of feeling invisible. So the first step, the real first step, is not about planning where you'll go, or figuring out the money, or even telling them yet. It's about deciding, inside your heart, that you are not going to live like this anymore. This decision is about truth, the truth that you matter, that your feelings are valid, that love should never come at the cost of your self-worth. Now, this isn't about blaming yourself, but it is about being honest. We all have reasons why we stay. Sometimes it's fear of being alone, sometimes it's financial, sometimes it's habit, and sometimes it's because we think we don't deserve better. But can I gently challenge that idea? Think back to a younger version of yourself. Maybe you were in your 30s or 40s, raising kids, doing everything for everyone else. Would you want her to feel this way? Would you want her to settle for a life where she feels scared, small, or unloved? Of course not. So why should you settle now? You have walked through so many fires in your life. You've survived heartbreak, disappointment, loss. You've carried more than your share. And yet, you're still here, still standing, still strong. So deciding to leave isn't about giving up. It's about finally choosing you. And yes, it will come with fear. That's normal. What will happen to the house? What about the kids or grandkids? Will I be lonely? These questions will come, but don't let them keep you paralyzed. Fear is loud, but it's not always truthful. The truth is, there are people who've made it out. People your age and older. People who were told they were too old to change, too dependent to leave, too weak to rebuild. And yet, they did it. They're living proof that it's never too late to choose peace. So what's holding you back? Sometimes we think, well, it's not that bad today, or he said he's trying, or she promised to be better. And we start imagining them as the person we wish they were, instead of seeing who they really are. But love isn't real when it's only alive in your imagination. At this stage in life, your time is more precious than ever. Why waste another year hoping someone becomes the partner you always needed, when you could spend that year healing, laughing, exploring, breathing deeply again? This isn't about revenge. It's not even about anger. It's about truth and peace and learning how to be okay, even joyful, without someone else deciding your worth. You don't need their permission to choose yourself. And once you've made this decision, quietly, firmly, you begin to shift. You start reclaiming the parts of you that were pushed aside. The strength, the spark, the voice that says, I deserve more. It's not an overnight change. Some days will feel heavy, some days you might doubt yourself. That's why it's important to be gentle with yourself, to speak kindly to yourself, to practice holding your own hand, the way you would for someone you deeply love. Because that's what this journey is about. Learning to love yourself like never before. Learning to mother yourself, to soothe yourself when things get hard, to become your own safe place, no matter what storm is swirling outside. And let me be clear, it is not selfish to want a life where you feel safe, respected, and whole. That is not selfish. That is human. So if you're sitting there wondering if you're strong enough to make this decision, I'm here to tell you, you are. You always have been. Now it's time to believe it. And when you do, that decision becomes your foundation. A quiet but unshakable voice that says, I will not go back. I will not trade my peace for approval. I will not apologize for wanting joy. That is where your power begins, and it's already inside you. Let's keep going. Once you've made the quiet but powerful decision to leave, something starts to shift inside you. It may not look like much on the outside. You're still cooking dinner, still folding laundry, still sleeping in the same bed, but inside, something has changed. You're no longer waiting for them to treat you better. You're no longer hoping they'll finally see you. Now, you're seeing yourself. But that decision, as important as it is just the beginning. Because the moment you start pulling away, emotionally, mentally, even just in your heart, they're going to feel it, and they might not react well. People who rely on control, manipulation, or emotional intimidation often sense when that control is slipping. And when they do, they panic. Not because they love you the way you deserve to be loved, but because they're losing access to something they were using: your energy, your forgiveness, your patience, your ability to carry the emotional weight of the relationship for both of you. This is why the second step, preparing for the backlash, is so important. I won't sugarcoat it. This part is hard. You're no longer playing the role they assigned to you. And when you stop playing along, the real version of them often comes out. The version that may get louder, crueler, more guilt-tripping. The version that knows exactly which buttons to push, because they've been pushing them for years. They might call you selfish, tell you that you're destroying the family, that you're abandoning them. They might bring up old memories, good times, shared dreams, just to confuse you, to make you second-guess your decision. Because confusion is a powerful trap, and they know how to use it. But here's the truth you need to hold on to. You are not doing this to hurt anyone. You're doing this because you've been hurting for too long. You don't owe anyone a lifetime of your silence, your pain, your self-sacrifice. Especially not someone who has made you feel small, afraid, or unworthy of love. So how do you prepare for this backlash? You start by getting strong, not in your body, but in your mind and your heart. Think of it like training for a big race or preparing for a storm. You know it's coming, so you gather your tools. You learn how to breathe when the winds pick up. You remind yourself of your why when the pressure builds. Start by strengthening the voice inside you, the one that says, I know this isn't right. Write it down if you have to. A letter to yourself. a reminder of all the times you felt ignored, disrespected, hurt. Not to dwell in pain, but to stay clear on why you're leaving. That clarity will become your anchor, and then expect the backlash. Expect the anger, the guilt, the tears, the charm. Expect it all. Because when you expect it, you won't be caught off guard. And when it comes, you'll recognize it for what it is. A reaction, not a reason to stay. You'll also need to build ways to protect your emotional space. That might mean planning what you'll say, or what you won't say, when the conversation gets heated. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply not engage. You don't need to explain yourself to someone who has never truly listened. You may also need to create physical space, sleeping in a separate room, spending time at a friend's house, or even planning for a safe exit. Every situation is different, and safety always comes first. But even small steps can help you reclaim your energy. And here's something that many people don't talk about. Even if your partner isn't openly cruel, they may still use guilt or subtle manipulation to keep you stuck. They might suddenly become kind, attentive, affectionate. It's confusing. You might think, see, they're finally changing. But ask yourself this: are they changing because they truly see the harm they've caused and want to do the work to grow? Or are they changing because they're afraid of losing the power they had over you? Real change doesn't happen overnight. It's slow, it's consistent, and it involves accountability, not just apologies. So if you're seeing sudden sweetness after months or years of neglect or cruelty, be cautious. You're not imagining things. It's part of the cycle. And cycles can only be broken when someone steps out of them. That someone is you. Now you may be wondering, what do I do when they say something that really hurts? Something like, "You're ruining this family. You'll never find anyone else. You're too old to start over." First, breathe. Second, remember, those words say more about them than they do about you. They are projecting their own fear, their own insecurity, their own need to control onto you. And yes, it hurts, especially when it comes from someone you once loved. But the best thing you can do in that moment is to step back emotionally. Ask yourself, is this true? Or is this just meant to break my spirit? You are not too old. You are not unlovable. And you are not alone. This is why, during this step, self-soothing becomes your greatest tool. It might sound simple, but it's powerful. Learning how to calm yourself when the storm hits. Talking to yourself like someone you deeply love. Saying things like, "This is hard, but I'm doing the right thing. I am not crazy. I deserve peace. I am allowed to protect myself." When you get good at this, when you can hold your own hand in the middle of chaos, you become stronger than you ever imagined. And here's the beautiful thing about this process. Every time you choose yourself over guilt, every time you stay calm instead of reacting, every time you set a boundary that protects your peace, you're reteaching your nervous system what safety feels like. You're relearning what it means to belong to yourself. And when your partner tries to provoke you, tries to reel you back into the chaos, you'll feel the old pull, but you won't fall for it. Not because you're cold, not because you don't care, but because you've finally learned to care for yourself first. So as you face the backlash, keep going. Keep anchoring into your truth. Keep trusting that the ground beneath you is strong enough to hold you, even if it's shaking a little right now. Because this isn't just about leaving someone, it's about coming home to yourself. Let's keep walking together. When the storm settles, and yes, it will, you'll be standing in a different space. Maybe it feels unfamiliar, maybe even quiet. You've made the decision to leave. You've faced the backlash. And now, here you are. This is the part where many people ask, now what? Because after years, sometimes decades, of being wrapped up in someone else's moods, needs, rules, or criticism, you may not know what to do with all this open space. The silence might feel strange. The freedom might feel a little frightening. But this is where something beautiful begins. This is where you start investing in yourself. And if that idea feels selfish, let me say it clearly. It's not. After giving so much to everyone else for so long, your children, your partner, your parents, your community, this is your time. Your time to rediscover who you are outside of the roles you've played. Your time to heal, to grow, and to breathe again without apology. Investing in yourself doesn't mean you need to fly off to Europe or start a business tomorrow, unless you want to. It means choosing, day by day, to value your peace, to put your emotional, mental, and physical health at the top of your list, to rebuild trust with yourself. That might look like therapy, finally talking to someone who listens without judgment, who helps you untangle the pain that's been sitting quietly inside you for years. It might be journaling, writing out your thoughts, your fears, your hopes, letting the page hold what you can't say out loud yet. It might mean watching videos like this, listening to voices that lift you up, that remind you you're not alone, that give you tools to rebuild. You don't have to have all the answers today. You don't have to know exactly what your new life will look like. But you do have to start showing up for yourself every single day. That might mean making your bed in the morning, not because anyone told you to, but because it feels good. Cooking something nourishing for yourself, not out of duty, but out of care. Taking a walk, feeling the sunlight on your face, and remembering what it's like to move through the world without fear. It's in these small choices that you begin to rebuild, and over time, you'll notice something. The sadness gets lighter. The anxiety softens. Your thoughts grow kinder. You begin to recognize the person in the mirror again, not as someone broken, but as someone brave. You may even realize that for the first time in a long time, you feel free. And here's the truth about freedom. It opens doors you didn't even know were closed. You start laughing again, you sleep better, you enjoy your own company, you reconnect with friends who uplift you, or make space for new ones who truly see you. You discover hobbies, interests, even dreams that had been buried under the weight of survival. You begin to understand that joy isn't something you have to earn. It's something you're worthy of, just as you are. And maybe, just maybe, you find that being alone isn't something to be feared. It's where you meet the strongest, wisest part of yourself. You also learn to trust your gut again, to notice red flags and act on them, to say no without guilt, to walk away from anything that feels heavy on your soul. Because once you've lived through emotional abuse, you start to realize how precious peace is, how valuable your energy is, and how quickly life moves. You start asking new questions, not, how do I keep them happy? But what makes me feel alive? Where do I feel safe? Who truly sees me? These are the questions that create a life worth living. And yes, there will be moments when the past tries to tug at you, when old habits knock on your door, when loneliness visits or fear creeps in. That's okay. Healing isn't a straight line, it's a spiral. Some days you'll feel strong, other days you'll feel tender. But with each day that you choose yourself, you become more rooted, more whole. And if at any point you wonder, did I make the right decision? I invite you to ask yourself this: is my life more peaceful now? Do I feel more like myself? Am I learning to love myself without asking for permission? If the answer is yes, even a little, then you are on the right path. And one more thing. As you move forward, you may notice that not everyone comes with you. You might lose people along the way, friends, family, even your adult children who may not understand your decision. It's painful, it's hard. But sometimes we have to let go of people who can't love us in the way we now love ourselves. That doesn't make you cold. It means you've grown. And as you let go, you make room for new connections, for relationships based on mutual respect, for friendships where you don't have to shrink, for a life that feels like home. You don't need 100 people around you. You just need a few good ones. People who remind you of your strength when you forget. People who sit beside you without fixing, judging, or rushing your process. People who say, "I see you. I've been there. You're not alone." And you'll find them. Sometimes in the most unexpected places. And sometimes right here, in this community. So if you're watching this right now and your heart is aching but also hopeful, please know you're not broken. You're just beginning. You have already taken the hardest steps. You've made the decision. You've stood your ground. And now you're learning how to rise. You don't need to do it perfectly. You just need to keep going. So take this moment right now and breathe. Deep, slow, and steady. You are brave. You are worthy. You are free. And the rest of your life, the part where you feel at peace, where you smile more, where you trust yourself again, that part starts today. If this video spoke to you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. You never know who your story might encourage. If you found this helpful, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, subscribe to Strong Elderly Life. Because we are building a space here where people over 60 can feel seen, heard, and empowered. Here's to living the rest of your life with courage, joy, and a heart that finally feels safe again. You've got this, and we're right here with you.